Chapter 1. Hat. When I was 6 years old, I saw a picture in a book. It was a picture of a snake who was eating a big animal. Here is a copy of the picture. In the book it said, "Snakes eat the whole animal. Then they are not able to move, and they sleep for 6 months." I thought about the life in the jungle. Then I made my first picture. This is my picture number 1. I showed my fantastic picture to the adults, and I asked them if my picture scared them. But they answered, "How can I be scared of a hat?" My picture was not a picture of a hat. It was a picture of a big snake who ate an elephant. I then drew the inside of the big snake so that the adults could understand. They always need explanations. This is my picture number 2. The adults advised me to stop drawing snakes from the inside or the outside. They told me that it was better to study geography, history, maths, and grammar. That's why, at the age of 6, I left a great career as a painter. I did it because my picture number 1 and picture number 2 were not successful when adults saw them. Adults never understand anything alone, and children are not happy when they have to always give them explanations. So I had to choose another profession. I learned to fly planes. I flew all over the world, and it's true that geography was very useful to me. I could see the difference between China and Arizona at first look. It is very useful if you are lost in the night. During my life, I had a lot of contact with many serious people. I lived a lot among the adults. I could see them from a close distance. This experience did not improve my opinion of them much. When I met an adult who looked a little normal, I showed him or her my picture number 1. I always had this picture with me. I wanted to know if this person really understood life. But the person always said, "It's a hat." Then I never spoke to this person about big snakes or forests or stars. I went to his or her level and we talked about bridges, golf, and politics. And the adult was happy to meet such a reasonable man. So I lived alone. I didn't know anybody who I could really talk to. But one day it all changed. I had an accident in the Sahara Desert. It was 6 years ago. Something was broken in my engine. I didn't have any mechanic or any passenger in the plane with me. To repair the plane alone was a difficult job. But I had to do it. It was a question of life or death for me. I had only enough drinking water for a week. Chapter 2. Sheep. The first night I slept on the sand 1,000 miles from any land with people. I was more isolated than a sailor on a raft in the middle of the ocean. So you can imagine my surprise when a funny little voice woke me up in the morning. It said, "Please draw me a sheep." What? Draw me a sheep. I jumped to my feet as if I was hit by lightning. I looked around, and I saw a very unusual little man who was looking at me very seriously. This is the best picture of him which I later was able to make. But my picture, of course, is much less fascinating than the original model. It's not my mistake. I was stopped in my career as a painter by the adults at the age of 6. and I never learned to draw anything except snakes from the outside and snakes from the inside. I looked at this little man with my eyes full of surprise. Don't forget that I was 1,000 miles from any land with people. It was interesting to see that this little man didn't look tired, hungry, thirsty, or scared. He didn't look like a child who was lost in the middle of the desert, 1,000 miles from any land with people. When I finally managed to speak, I said to him, "What are you doing here?" He repeated, very slowly and very seriously, "Please draw me a sheep." It was all strange to me. I was 1,000 miles from any place with people. I was in danger of death, but I took a piece of paper and a pen out of my pocket. I wanted to draw him a picture. Then I remembered that I mostly studied geography, history, maths, and grammar, and I told the little man that I did not know how to draw. He said, "It doesn't matter. Draw me a sheep." But I never drew a sheep. So I drew him one of only 2 pictures which I was able to draw. It was a big snake from the outside. And I was shocked to hear the little man say, "No, no, no. I don't want an elephant inside a big snake. A big snake is a very dangerous animal, and an elephant takes a lot of space. Where I live, everything is very small. I need a sheep. Draw me a sheep." So then I made a picture. He looked at it carefully, then he said, "No, this sheep is already very ill. Make me another." So I made another picture. My friend smiled gently at me. "You have to see it too. This is not a sheep. It's a ram. It has horns." So then I made another picture. But it wasn't good either. "This sheep is too old. I want a sheep which will live a long time." At that moment, my patience was gone because I was in a hurry to start repairing my engine. I quickly drew this picture, and I said, "That's a box. The sheep which you want is inside." I was very surprised when I saw the light in the face of the young man. "This is exactly how I wanted it. Do you think that the sheep will need a lot of grass?" "Why?" "Because where I live, everything is very small. I believe that there will be enough grass for it. I gave you a very small sheep." He looked closely at the picture. "It is not very small. Look, it is sleeping now." And this is how I met the little prince. Chapter 3. Planet. It took me a long time to understand where he came from. The little prince asked me many questions. I also asked him questions, but he usually didn't answer them. But from his speaking, I slowly started to understand many things. For example, when he first saw my plane, he asked, "What is this thing?" "I will not draw my plane here. It is too complicated for me." I answered, "This isn't a thing. It flies. It's a plane. It's my plane." And I was proud when I told him that I could fly. Then he said, "What? You fell from the sky?" "Yes," I said. "Oh, it's funny." And the little prince started to laugh very loudly. I was angry. My situation was serious. How could somebody think that it was funny? Then he added, "So you also fell from the sky like me. What planet are you from?" At that moment, I started to understand more about him, and I asked him quickly, "Do you come from another planet?" But he didn't answer me. He only moved his head gently. He was still looking at my plane. Of course, on that thing you couldn't come from very far. And he started to think deeply. He was thinking for a long time. Then he took his sheep out of his pocket, and he started to look at the sheep carefully. You can imagine that I wanted to know more when the little prince spoke about falling from the sky. I asked him, "Where do you come from? Where is your home? Where do you want to take your sheep?" He was quiet for a long time. Then he answered, "The good thing about the box is that at night I can use it as a house for the sheep. Of course, and if you are good, I'll also give you a rope. Then you can tie the sheep during the day." But the little prince was shocked by this offer. "Tie the sheep? It is a funny idea. But if you don't tie the sheep, it will run away. It will be lost." My friend started to laugh loudly again. "But where do you think the sheep can go?" "Anywhere. Straight, left, right." Then the little prince said seriously, "The sheep can go away. It is okay. Where I live, everything is so small." He was a little sad. Then he added, "Where I live, nobody can go very far." So, this way, I learned a second very important thing. The planet of the little prince was very small. It was only a little bigger than a house. But it's true that it wasn't a big surprise. I knew very well that we don't only have planets like Earth, Jupiter, Mars, and Venus, which have names. There are also hundreds of other planets, which are sometimes so small that it's difficult to see them through the telescope. When an astronomer discovers one of them, he doesn't give the planet a name, but only a number. He calls it, for example, Asteroid 3251, Chapter 4, Asteroid. I believe that the planet from which the little prince came is asteroid B612. This asteroid was seen only once through the telescope. It was by a Turkish astronomer in 1909. He spoke about his discovery at the International Astronomical Congress. But nobody believed him because he was wearing Turkish clothes. Adults do such things. Fortunately for the reputation of asteroid B612, a Turkish leader made a law that people had to wear clothes like Europeans. The astronomer spoke about his discovery again in 1920. He was wearing very elegant clothes, and this time everybody accepted his discovery. I am telling you these details about asteroid B612, and I am telling you its number because adults like numbers. When you tell them that you have a new friend, they never ask you questions about important things. They never ask you, "What is the sound of his voice? What games does he like? Does he collect butterflies?" They ask, "How old is he? How many brothers does he have? How much does he weigh? How much money does his father make?" If they know these numbers, they think that they know this person. If you say to the adults, I saw a beautiful red house with beautiful flowers in the windows and birds on the roof, they can't imagine the house. You have to say to them, I saw a house that cost $100,000. Then they can say, it's a pretty house. So if you say to the adults, the little prince existed because he was nice, he laughed, and he wanted a sheep. If you want a sheep, it's clear that you exist. This information won't help them. They will shake their heads and they will think that you live in a dream. But if you tell them the planet he came from is asteroid B612, then they will believe you. And they won't ask you any questions. Adults are like that. We mustn't blame them. Children have to be very patient when they speak to adults. But of course, we who understand life, we don't care about numbers. We like to tell a story like a fairy tale. We like to say, once upon a time, there was a little prince who lived on a planet only a little bigger than himself, and who needed a friend. For those who understand life, it would sound much better. Chapter 5, Elephants. This all happened 6 years ago. When I look at these memories, I feel sad. But I describe the little prince here because I don't want to forget him. It's sad to forget a friend. Not everybody had a friend. So that's why I bought a box of paints and some pencils. It's hard to start drawing at my age after so long time again. I will try, of course, to make my pictures as true to life as possible, but I'm not quite sure what the result will be. One picture is all right, and another doesn't look like what I tried to draw. I make some mistakes on the size, too. Here the little prince is too tall. Here he is too short. I'm not also sure about the color of his clothes, but I will try to do my best. In some other details, I will make mistakes too. But here you have to forgive me. It's not my fault. My friend never explained anything to me. Maybe he thought that I was like him. But I, unfortunately, don't know how to see the sheep through the walls of a box. Maybe it's because I'm a little like the adults. Maybe I'm already old. Every day I learned something about the little prince's planet. I learned about his departure from it, about his journey. The information came very slowly, usually during moments when the little prince was thinking about his past. On the third day, I learned about the problem with the baobabs. Baobabs are big trees. I learned about the problem thanks to a question about the sheep that the little prince asked me. Is it true that sheep eat little bushes? Yes, that's true. Ah, that's good. I didn't understand why it was so important that sheep ate little bushes. But the little prince added, so they also eat baobabs? I told the little prince that baobabs aren't little bushes. The baobabs are right the opposite. They are trees as large as churches. And that even if he took 9 big elephants back to his planet, those elephants couldn't eat one single baobab. The idea of 9 elephants made the little prince laugh. They would have to stand on each other. But he said something clever. The baobabs, before they grow so big, they're very small at the beginning. That's right, I said. But why is it important that your sheep eats the little baobabs? He said, "Oh, come on." You know, as if we were talking about something clear and simple. And then I had to use my intelligence to solve the problem without any assistance. Chapter 6: Trees. So I thought that on the planet where the little prince lived, there were, as on all planets, good plants and bad plants. And there were also good seeds of good plants and bad seeds of bad plants. But we can't see seeds. They sleep deep in the ground until one of them wants to wake up. Then it begins to grow slowly to the sun. When it's very small, you don't know if it is a carrot seed or a rose seed, and you can let it grow as it wants. But if it is a bad plant, it is necessary to destroy the plant immediately when you can see it. And the truth was that there were some terrible seeds on the planet of the little prince. These were the seeds of baobabs. The ground of the planet was full of them. If you see a baobab too late, you will never be able to destroy it. It will go over the whole planet. Its roots will go right through it. And if the planet is too small, and if there are many baobabs, they will tear the planet to pieces. It's a question of discipline, the little prince later told me. When you finish washing and you put on your clothes each morning, then it's time to clean your planet very carefully. It's necessary to pull the baobabs when you can see them. Sometimes it isn't easy because they are similar to roses when they are very young. It's a very boring job, but very easy. And one day he said to me, "You should draw a beautiful picture which will show all this to the children. This information will be useful to them if they travel one day. It's sometimes okay to postpone your work. But when it comes to baobabs, it's always a catastrophe." I knew a planet with a lazy man. He forgot to pull 3 little bushes. And when the little prince described it to me, I drew this planet. I don't want to be a moralist, but the danger of baobabs is so little known. And there is a great possibility that if you are lost on an asteroid, you will meet such danger. So now I will tell you what you must do. I will say it in simple words. Children, be careful with baobabs. I worked so hard on this picture because I wanted to tell my friends about a danger which they didn't know for a long time. The lesson which I am teaching you now is very important. Maybe you ask yourself, why are there no other pictures in this book as big as the picture of the baobabs? The answer is very simple. When I drew the baobabs, it was so important for me to give you this information. Chapter 7: Sun. Step by step, I started to understand the secrets of the little prince's life. For a long time, his only fun was watching beautiful sunsets. I learned this new detail on the 4th day in the morning when he said to me, "I really like sunsets. Let's go look at a sunset now." "But we have to wait," I said. "Wait? Wait for what?" "Wait until the sun goes down." At first, he looked very surprised. Then he laughed, and he said to me, "I'm always thinking that I'm at home. Everybody knows this. When it's noon in the United States, the sun is going down in France. If you could fly to France in 1 minute, you could watch the sunset. but on the Little Prince's planet, you only needed to pull your chair a few steps, and you could watch the sun going down whenever you wished. One day I saw the sunset 43 times, said the little prince, and he added, "When you are very sad, sunsets are wonderful." On the day of the 43 sunsets, did you feel very sad? I asked, but the little prince didn't answer. On the 5th day, again thanks to the sheep, another secret of the little prince's life was shown to me. He asked me, "If a sheep eats little bushes, does it eat flowers too?" "A sheep eats whatever it finds," I answered. "Even flowers that have thorns?" "Yes, even flowers that have thorns." "I don't understand it. Why does the flower have thorns if a sheep can eat it?" I didn't know. At that moment, I was very busy. I needed to repair my engine. I was quite worried because my situation began to be very serious. I had so little water that I had to fear the worst. Why does the flower have thorns? The little prince always wanted an answer to his question, but at that moment I was angry because I couldn't repair my engine. I answered without thinking, "Thorns are good for nothing. Flowers have thorns because they want to upset others." "Oh," the little prince was thinking for a while. Then he said a little angrily, "I don't believe you. Flowers are weak. They are naive. The thorns give them power. Flowers believe that their thorns are terrible weapons." I didn't reply. I was very busy with my engine. Chapter 8. Flower. When I was thinking how to repair my engine, the little prince said, "Do you actually believe that flowers have thorns only to upset others?" "No, I don't believe it. I answered you with the first idea which came to my mind. I am busy with serious things." He looked at me shocked. Serious things? He saw me with my dirty hands. I was trying to do something with the engine, an object which looked extremely ugly to him. "You talk like the adults." I knew that I made a mistake. I didn't feel okay about it, but then with the same tone in his voice, he continued, "You confuse everything. You mix everything together." He was really angry. He shook his head. "I know a planet with a gentleman with a red face. He doesn't have a flower. He doesn't look at stars. He doesn't love anyone. He only counts numbers." And all day he repeats again and again, like you, "I am a serious man. I am a serious man." And he's very proud. But he's not a man. He's a mushroom. He's a what? A mushroom. The little prince was now very angry. His face was white. "Flowers have thorns. Sheep eat flowers. And you think that it's not good to try to understand why flowers have thorns? There is a war between the sheep and the flowers, and you think that it's not important? You think that it's not more important than the counting of the gentleman with a red face. And if I know a flower which is the only flower in the world, which exists nowhere, only on my planet, a flower which a little sheep can eat easily, you think that this is not important?" His face was now red, and he continued, "If somebody loves a flower which is the only flower among all the millions and millions of stars, that's enough for this person to be happy when he looks at the stars and he says to himself, 'My flower is somewhere up there.' But if the sheep eats the flower, then for him it's as if all the stars stopped shining. And you think that it's not important?" He couldn't say another word. He started to cry. The night came. I left my tools on the ground. How important could my tools, my engine, my death be now? On one star, on one planet, on my planet, the Earth, there was a little prince who needed my attention. I took him in my arms. I held him gently. I said to him, "The flower which you love is not in danger. I will draw you something to protect your flower. I will draw you a fence. You can put the fence around you, flower. I didn't know what to say to him. I felt uncomfortable. I didn't know how to talk to him, how to be his friend again. It's so mysterious, the moment when somebody cries. Chapter 9. Glass. I soon learnt more about the flower. On the little prince's planet, the flowers were always very simple. They were small and they didn't disturb anyone. They grew in the grass in the morning and they were gone in the evening. But it all changed one day. There was a different seed. It came from some place which nobody knew. Soon a new flower started to grow. First, she was very small. The little prince watched her very carefully. The flower wasn't like other flowers on his planet. The flower could be a new kind of baobab. But she soon stopped growing, and she began to prepare for opening. The preparation for this moment took a long time. The flower didn't want to show her colors fast. Then, one morning, exactly at sunrise, the flower showed her colors. And after all her preparation for this moment, she said, "Ah, I am sorry. It will take same time before I am perfect." But the little prince couldn't hide his admiration. "Oh, how beautiful you are." "Yes, I am. Look at me," the flower said. "And I was born at the same moment as the sun." "I think that it's time for breakfast," she said. "Could you bring me some water?" The little prince was surprised. The situation was new for him, but soon he brought water to the flower. The flower started to play with the little prince, but her play wasn't always nice. One day, for example, when she was speaking about her 4 thorns, she said to the little prince, "I'm ready for tigers, they can come." "There are no tigers on my planet," said the little prince, "and also tigers don't eat grass." "I'm not a grass," the flower sweetly said. "I'm not scared of tigers, but I'm scared of wind. Do you have something to protect me from wind?" "To be scared of wind isn't good for a plant," said the little prince, and he added to himself, "This flower is very complicated. At night, I want to be under glass. It's very cold here where you live. It's quite uncomfortable. I come for a place where—" But she stopped talking at this moment. She came here as a seed. She knew nothing about other worlds. She was embarrassed because the little prince could see that she was ready to lie to him. She quickly coughed 2 or 3 times. She wanted to show the little prince that she was cold and that he forgot about her. "The glass? I wanted to look for it, but you were speaking to me," said the little prince. Then the flower started to cough a little more. She wanted to show him how bad he was. So the little prince, even if he had a lot of love in his heart, soon stopped believing her. The way which somebody was speaking to him was